Good morning. Welcome back. It is 10:30 local time, the day before American Thanksgiving. Ooh-wee. So I went to my hot yoga class this morning, nice and early. I was expecting the class to be totally empty, and it was jam-packed. And then I went to Whole Foods, aka Whole Paycheck, and did my grocery shopping, our grocery shopping, spent enough money, an entire paycheck's worth. No. And it was beautiful because it was like 7:30 in the morning, and it was just everything was fully stocked and beautiful and fresh, and felt like VIP shopping in there. So today's topic is about protein. For our Thanksgiving meal, I'm going to create some mains that are going to be so cute. And I was inspired by somebody who wrote a comment about the three sisters, so squash, beans, and corn. And I thought, how wonderful. When I look online, it's mostly stews, and I don't want to eat a stew for my Thanksgiving main. Thank you very much. So I'm going to do this thing that I had done a few years ago. It was the COVID year, and I copied Mary McDougall's entire Thanksgiving menu. I mean, I didn't do the entire thing because that could feed an army, and it's just the three of us. But I have allergies. And she did this baked pumpkin, and I copied her, and it was so beautiful. So I'm going to do some mini pumpkins. So I've got two of these and a couple of these, and we're just going to share. And I'm going to stuff them. These are going to be baked. I'm going to open up the tops, stuff them with, this is the squash, and I'm going to need beans and rice, and obviously lots of flavor. So lots of celery, onion, garlic, Thanksgiving herbs, not herbs. I've been told herbs. So it's going to be delicious, well-seasoned, oil-free, which is a challenge for me, but I can do it. I've had some practice. And I'm also going to do baby potatoes on this bed of a delicious vegan sour cream with lots of fresh chives and also nicely flavored. Obviously, mashed potatoes, gravy. I'm doing the golden gravy by the McDougalls. It's so simple, it's delicious, and super easy to make. But today, we're going to talk about protein, because my protein in the center of my meal is not going to be a big, huge turkey. There will definitely be turkey there. Can't disappoint everybody. But for me and a couple of other people, we're probably not going to have any turkey at all. And so we need a delicious main that I want to present to the table and be able to carve up. So this is my turkey. Now, in terms of protein, people often ask, even though this is such a topic that I think most people in the plant-based space are really sick and tired of hearing, mostly because anytime we start talking about food to regular people out in the wild, they will say, where do you get your protein? And I say, I get my protein from plants. And then the conversation stops because they just don't know how to respond to that, I guess. Well, what blew my mind when I first started learning about all of this is that there is protein in plants and plant foods and all whole plants. All whole plants have protein. And that blew my mind because I always assumed we need to eat animals for protein. But that's just not the case. So what is protein? We need it to grow our skin, our hair, our nails. Protein are a bunch of amino acids. So there are 8 or 9 essential amino acids. Anytime we see or hear the word essential, it just means we have to eat it because the body cannot create it on its own. So we got to hunt down our amino acids, and every single whole plant has all of our essential amino acids. Like, what? Almost nobody seems to know this. It's becoming much more apparent and well known because all these people are putting this great information out there, and sometimes you just don't want to eat like animal protein. So an option is to eat a plant protein. And when we think plant protein, I typically think like high protein items are like beans, tofu, tempeh, and that's about it. Maybe some nuts, but most plants are pretty low in protein. Now, there is some people will say that animal protein is superior to plant protein, but I have to disagree based on the experts that I have learned from. Namely, there's a dude named Christopher Gardner. He's a professor at Stanford University, and he is a human biology expert. He runs all these research studies, and he was in a recent video on YouTube. If you just Google Christopher Gardner and protein, all the relevant videos will pop up, and there's just so much knowledge inside of them. And he talks about how we got to how much protein we're supposed to have. So the RDA, or the recommended dietary allowance set by the government, is that we should have about 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of weight. Now, we measure our weight in pounds here in the United States, so that is 0.36 grams per pound of body weight. So when you think of it that way, a lot of people might think, I need my protein. Where do you get your protein if you're like a vegetarian or like vegan or a plant-based? That's a good question, which I've already answered. But the next important question is, well, how much protein do you need? Because protein is interesting in that if we eat too much of it, we could get into trouble. Some people say, well, all that protein has to be worked through our kidneys. It's hard on our kidneys. Maybe you have kidney stones, and maybe because you have like excess protein in your regular eating habits, and maybe you've been doing that for years. I don't know. Some people say, well, that's not the case. It doesn't have anything to do with our kidneys. Any excess protein is actually going to be stored in the body as extra fat. Like what? The Mayo Clinic, they say that the body can't store protein, which most people say, or everybody says. So they write, so once needs are met, any extra is used for energy or stored as fat. Excess calories from any source will be stored as fat in the body. Now, people who are obsessed with complex carbohydrates will not say that. Excess carbohydrates, for the most part, are burned off as just as we live, just our body energy and just our body's functioning, because they're using the glucose that comes from carbohydrates, and our brain is burning up to half of it, or at least a quarter of it, and our bodies are using the rest. So the body is always going to use glucose to burn clean energy for fuel, for bodily functions, for everything, before it will go to its secondary choice, which could be fat or ketone bodies. Anyway, so yeah, how much protein do you need? So you can calculate that. You can do 0.36, multiply that by your body weight, and you get a number. And then comes the challenge of, well, like, let's say you need 50 grams of protein every day, and that's the RDA. So Christopher Gardner says when they were pulling these studies together to come up with an RDA for the American population, what they did was they got to their number and then they doubled it. And that's how they got to this number of 0.8 grams or 0.36 grams per pound of body weight. They doubled it. And he says that that typically covers about 90% of the American population. He also says that most people get enough protein and, as a matter of fact, excess protein. So let's say you are about 140, 50 pounds, multiply that by 0.36. For me personally, I need about 50 grams of protein a day. And I easily get that. Like, it's just in everything. I have a piece of toast with peanut butter and, another meal and a snack, and I've basically got my protein needs for the day. I am whole food plant-based, on my best days. But I'm mostly like a flexitarian. I know that that term is hilarious, but I kind of do eat everything. Just the majority of the food that I eat is whole food, plant-based. And what does that mean? It just means I eat a bunch of plants. Okay. So instead of me thinking like, where's my turkey or where's my meat? I've now learned that the real question is, where's the starch? Because normal whole plants are very low in calories typically, and we need to make sure that we're eating enough calories. And so I've been eating like this for over 10 years. It's pretty much been up and down. I have tracked my things on a thing called Renfo. That's my body weight scale, my home body weight scale, and it tracks our protein as well. So my protein, I don't know if you can see it, it's that number right in the middle. And then they have this sliding scale. And so in the middle, it just says that you have standard amount of protein. And then on the dark green, it says adequate. And then the blue is low, which, you know, like the John McDougalls of the world, they'll say like, do you know anybody who suffers from not having enough protein in their diet? Like nobody who we know suffers from that problem because there's protein everywhere. So this obsession with where's the protein? We're ordering a dish. What protein are we going to add on it? And sometimes I'm a little cheeky and I'm like, well, there's already protein in there without me adding like a meat. So anyway, I fall in the dark green zone. So even for me who, you know, I don't count my protein, I don't do any of that stuff. But I'm just going to give you an example of how easy it is to get our protein. And this is really just from 2 meals. So from my excursion to Whole Paycheck this morning, I found these organic 7-grain pancake and waffle mix. They're whole grains, but we should never listen to anything on the front of the packaging because that's all advertising. So go to the back, look at the ingredients, and the ingredients have a bunch of whole things. So it literally says the word whole. That's how we know that we are in business. So organic whole wheat flour, organic vital wheat gluten, whole grain rye flour, whole grain salt flour, whole grain corn flour, whole grain oats, some cornstarch, some flax meal, whole grain brown rice flour. I believe you, Bob's Red Mill. There are 7 types of whole grains in this mix. And then the rest of the ingredients are not too bad. So I add some water. I add a little bit of oil. It says to add 1 egg. I'm not going to do that, but it'll still hold together. And I'm going to make some waffles. When we look at the nutrition facts, it says that for a 1/4 cup serving, just to make 2 waffles, I need an entire cup. So I'm going to multiply whatever it says here by 4, and the protein says 7 grams. So just for me to make 2 waffles, which I will eat, multiply 7 by 4, is that what, 28? So 28 grams of protein already. So I'm going to write this down. So 28 grams of protein just from my waffles. And I need about 50. That's my goal. And then I'm probably going to make a pasta. So when I'm asking, like, instead of the meat, what's my starch? This is my starch. Okay. They're grains. Whole grains are a starch. And the reason why I say starch is because that is the key. If you're not going to eat animals, that's the key to get into every single meal if you like feeling full and satiated. And I love feeling that way, obviously. So for our pasta dish, I found this beautiful Italian pasta, artesian pasta. Good source of fiber. Again, can't listen to anything on the cover, even though it looks beautiful. But on the back, when I look at the ingredients, this is a product from Italy. Ooh, fancy. And it has, what does it have? Oh, there's only 1 ingredient, organic low gluten index whole durum wheat. And then they just go into all kinds of stuff about their sustainable organic farming and their biodiversity, and they're powered by renewable energy and clean, zero plastic, plant-based packaging. Fresh from field to fork, low temperature for optimal nutrition. Like, they are talking about their whole process of making this expensive pasta. But hey, it's Thanksgiving week, so I'm splurging a little bit. For just 2 ounces, it's about 200 calories, and the protein is 6.4 grams. 6.4 grams. So there's 4 servings per pack. For one meal, I could easily eat 2 servings. So 2 multiplied by 6.4 is what? 12.8. So 12.8 grams. Excuse my terrible writing. So what is that? 40.8. So I've just had only pasta shells and waffles with nothing else, and I've already got almost 41 grams of protein. Now, to the pasta, I'm going to add in onions and garlic, and I'm going to make a creamy pumpkin pasta. So the pumpkin and maybe some tomato sauce. I'm not sure. There's going to be some cashew cream in there because I want it to be a creamy pumpkin pasta. So the cashews have protein. With our waffles this morning, I'm going to have some berries and even berries, something that you would think as just like, oh, that's fresh food. And what's that, a simple carb? That doesn't have protein. It does have protein. It has all the amino acids. It just has a little amount of it. And so I've had 2 meals. I'm okay with my protein. Now, some people will say that RDA is inaccurate and it should be double. The experts apparently say that if you're an athlete, yeah, you're going to need more protein, but you're also going to need more calories. So if I was doing my insane hot yoga class, maybe twice a day, every single day, I'm going to be starving. I'm going to need way more food, and therefore I'm going to eat a lot more. But in me eating a lot more, just because of that, I'm by default just going to automatically get more protein into my body. So I like to just listen to my body, listen to my hunger cues, fulfill my hunger cues, and not worry about my protein at all. Protein is an essential macronutrient, macro meaning we need kind of a lot of it. But that question of like, how much do we need is so important. Some people need a little bit more, some people need a little bit less. So it is also very personal to us. But it's just the whole point being like not something that we need to worry about. You know, the Christopher Gardners of the world say that. Many people say that. If anybody's like yelling at you and saying like, you need more protein, then you should ask like, how much? And they should give you an answer. And if they can't, then why? So it's a crazy worry that a lot of people have. You're not going to faint. If you feel like, you know, I had one friend say, well, I had like a chickpea salad for lunch and I just didn't have enough protein. You know, I didn't have enough energy like 20 minutes later. My question was like, well, how many chickpeas did you have in that salad? And a salad? Like, was it really just a salad? Obviously, if you're going to be filling up on leaves, of course you're going to be hungry in 20 minutes. I'd be still hungry after that. But you're going to have to create more chickpeas into that salad, right? That's the starch in that meal. And if you want to be full from a chickpea salad, then it's got to be bulky in the chickpea arena. And then you'll be full. Then you'll be very satiated and you'll feel great. Okay. So anyway, that's our protein talk. You don't have to worry about it. And tomorrow during our Thanksgiving meal, our daughter, she's not going to have turkey. She's totally freaked out by seeing an entire bird, a headless bird in any oven. But I know it's going to be a little disturbing for her, but whatever, such is life. But she will get all of her protein needs met and then some, be fully nourished and all the good things. So on that note, today I'm prepping so much food. This is my ticketing system. So I'm doing lots of food. Oh boy. I've got 7 items today, and then I'm going to reserve my roasting of these for tomorrow. They're so cute. Anyway, on that note, I hope you have a good one. And today you don't need to worry about your protein. But if you're curious, I highly recommend you track it. 0.36 grams multiplied by your body weight in pounds. And then in order to see how many grams of protein you're actually getting, just use Chronometer, chronometer.com. It's a free app. Punch in your food, and then you'll get a list. Just do it for like a day and just see, or like 3 days. But yeah. Okay. Well, have a good one.